Okay, a lot of you had your eyes closed. Wake up! Good morning. Good morning, good morning. I'm Reverend Bonnie. Like I said, period. It's good to see all of you who stuck around and came out this morning after, if you're like me, about 5 hours of sleep. So that's why you all probably look a little sleepy on me this morning. Yeah, the booming and what did you call yesterday's festivities? Raucous was quite interesting. And that was all to celebrate what we consider the 4th of July. We had that fabulous cookout. I want to thank Kelly and Kay and the events team. Yesterday was fantastic. I looked around and went, there's more people here yesterday than normally on a Sunday morning. That's pretty cool. What it said to me is we want more time together. And food. Yeah, and food. It was fabulous, and I'm grateful to all of you who were able to come yesterday and who got up early this morning and came here after our raucous holiday. The holiday when we celebrated 250 years since the white settlers of this nation won independence from, as we know, the British. They had some help, though, from black men and women who also wanted to experience freedom. And they had some help from Native Americans who inhabited this country before they arrived. So for me, this holiday is a mix of feelings and emotions because I have to weigh in my heart all the aspects of what have gone into our country's history, how we came to be, and how we are where we are today, and how that compares to that global heart vision that I've been holding on to for years of where I'd like to see us be. I just finished reading this book called Jefferson's Pillow, The Founding Fathers and the Dilemma of Black Patriotism. You'll get history from a different perspective, although it's familiar history. On the back, one of the people who describes this book says, Roger Wilkins, who's the author, has presented the African American with the greatest challenge he will ever face, walking away from history with his head held high, his mind fully informed, and his heart full of love of country. In sharing his family's American journey from the civilly constipating undertow of black suppression to an unself-conscious patriotism, he's performed an act of leadership and bravery that the community cannot move forward without. It was a very good book. And my experience, of course, is not his experience. My family are not descendants of slaves or of people of color, of Black Americans at least. Still, I find a similar challenge for me to walk away from history with my head held high, with my mind fully informed, and my heart full of love for this country. I find that the balance that I seek on the 4th of July and other such holidays that we celebrate. I don't want to whitewash history, and I have to look at my own personal history. My paternal grandmother was from West Virginia, and she'd often say, I'm a real coal miner's daughter. Her father and brothers worked in the coal mines. But knowing that she's from West Virginia, I don't know which side of the Civil War her ancestors fought on. The Union. West Virginia, the Union. You never know. If you follow this, there's people scattered throughout. I do know that my 6th great-grandmother back on her side was Lenape, better known to us today as Delaware Indian. And we have documentations on both sides of the family that we have people who fought in the Revolution, and that's what we celebrated yesterday, was winning that war. So my history, my own personal history, and the various viewpoints that I've collected over the years as I've studied various aspects of our history over the years, has me needing to balance my gratitude for being born in this country and being a U.S. citizen with its checkered past, and holding a space for all of it, holding a space where I can see Spirit expressing in and through all of it and all of the players that helped to create it. Joel Goldsmith, in our book that we keep talking about, I have to keep bringing up our book study, Joel Goldsmith, in Practicing the Presence, this was written in 1958, reminds us, the truth is that the place whereon you stand is holy ground, as long as you are contemplating the presence and power of God within you. And that's in the introduction to this book. And so what I also know is that as we celebrate the birth of this nation as we know it today, I also want to honor those who've inhabited this earth prior to the white folks showing up. And those people also found the land sacred and holy. In Mesilla Valley, it was primarily inhabited by Manzo people. Others in this region were Piro, Tiwa, Suma, and Humano. And later, the Mescalero Apache used this area as their winter hunting grounds. And so I just want to honor and mention them as well as we consider the development and the formation of this country as we know it. And as I'm sure you know, our founding fathers came seeking freedom. They wanted freedom eventually from the British rule. I understood, again, differently reading this, that it took them a while. Some people were here supporting Britain originally. They wanted freedom from or of religion. They wanted freedom for self-expression. And one of the phrases I'm sure you're familiar with that summed that up was they wanted liberty and justice for all. Yet their understanding of all was often just all white land-owning and property-owning men. And sometimes property meant other humans. So it's taken us years to move beyond that, to recognize liberty and justice for all, to include all men and women born on this land and all men and women who've chosen to become citizens of this land. And I believe we're still evolving in our understanding of the word all. The Centers for Spiritual Living has a global heart vision that has expanded the word all to include all humans everywhere, not just in our country, and all life, all the ways that God expresses in the world. We see all of creation as being made out of God's stuff, God in and through all. This month's topic is whole no matter what. And one issue during our nation's founding, when the men were discussing how to create and form this new government, was how to define a whole person. And in this book, he describes it this way. The delegates had to decide precisely what popular representation meant. Would slaves be included or would they not? Under the Articles of Confederation, each slave had been counted as 3/5 a person. How they came up with that number, beyond me. But what that said to me is part of the struggle, and part of what's described in here is how to define what is a whole person. And how did we define a whole person? Fast forward then to the era of New Thought. And I'm going to take us all the way back to Mary Baker Eddy, who founded Christian Science in 1866, because she, to me, is part of that tree. She's somebody that was in our New Thought family tree. She was an abolitionist. She wrote in private letters about her anti-slavery convictions, and she affirmed that freedom is the normal condition of all people made in God's image. And when she said all people, she meant all people. And she said love is the liberator. And Mrs. Eddy corresponded in 1881 and beyond with Black Americans. There are letters that she had as she treated them as one with her, writing these letters back and forth. There are records that go back in the Mother Church. The Mother Church is in Boston, in case you didn't know. They go back to the 1890s with Black people joining the Christian Science Church. And as early as 1900, it's documented that one of these gentlemen, Leonard Perry Jr., became a practitioner. So they weren't treated as different within the Christian Science Church. Most of us who have studied religious science and know our roots recognize the name Emma Curtis Hopkins. Emma Curtis Hopkins studied under Mary Baker Eddy and then broke off on her own. She's known to most of us as the teacher of teachers. Ernest Holmes learned from her at the end of her life, and the Fillmores, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, who started Unity, studied with her. The women that started Divine Science studied under her. And so part of what she has done and did was bring women to the forefront in leadership within the churches as well as in society. So I could go on, because what I want to show you is that New Thought has a strong foundation in seeing all people, regardless of race, gender, or religious background, as one. One with God and one with each other. So the song you sang during meditation was my whole talk. Right there. I was like, should I just leave? That was done. Beautiful. Joel Goldsmith, when he was teaching in this book about love thy neighbor, it defines neighbor this way. This will be a little different. But he says, love your neighbor, and this is how he defines it. He says, God and I are one. There's no way to love God without some of that love flowing out to my neighbor. Let us understand that anything of which we can become aware is a neighbor, whether it appears as a person, place, or thing. Every idea is consciousness. In consciousness is a neighbor. We can love that neighbor as we see him or possessing no power except that which comes from God. When we see God as the cause and our neighbor as that which is in and of God, then we are loving our neighbor. Whether that neighbor appears as a friend, relative, enemy, animal, flower, or stone. In such loving, which understands all neighbors to be of God, derived of God's substance, we find that every idea in consciousness takes its rightful place. Now he pounds us in a little harder in other places. I'm just going to share one more. This is on page 65. And he says, if we are harboring within us personal animosity, or if we are indulging in national or religious hatred, prejudice, or bigotry, our prayers are worthless. What a statement. I mean, that kind of took me by surprise. I'm like, okay. He said, we must go to God with clean hands in order to pray, and to approach God with clean hands, we must relinquish our animosities. And further on, he says, the law of God is the law of love. He didn't mince words. So, New Thought teachings are solidly grounding in a knowing that we are all whole no matter what, and that we are one no matter what. So you know me, I always have to look up the definition of things. So the word whole, what exactly is that referring to, since we're talking about being whole no matter what? As a noun, it's a thing that is complete in itself. And then the definition goes on to say, a person is considered whole when they have achieved inner completeness and are in a state of psychological and emotional integration where their values, thoughts, and actions align. Yeah. Values, thoughts, and actions are in alignment. It's also used as an adverb. Used in this way, it emphasizes the novelty or distinctiveness of something. And the example sentence was, that gives a whole new meaning to something. So that's another way the word whole is used. And of course, I had to look up Ernest Holmes and what he had to say about being whole. And he had a lot, so I just grabbed a few. The truth is indivisible and whole. We are so one with the whole that what is true of it is also true of us. And another one, whatsoever is true of the universe as a whole must also be true of the individual as some part of this whole. So you're getting the picture. Wholeness. And the idea that we are one with that, we are whole with all that is. Now, as we've been finding in our book study, sometimes the words that are used and the words that we try and use to describe how it feels to be one with the whole just are lacking. We try certain words, and sometimes it sounds like we're talking separation when we're talking oneness, and how to say these things, how to express this experience and feeling is not always easy to put into words. So I sort of just summarize it all and say all means all. One means one. Whole means whole. And all of us are one with the whole. Period. I like doing that. On top of that, though, we all know that we express in very complex ways. And as I think Judy pointed out, we're a diverse group just sitting in this room. Sometimes we express in very surprising ways and complex ways. There's aspects of us that appear different than what we see. But all of it is part of the whole. All of it is part of the one. And one of the things we started to try and figure out in our book study is everything I've ever done part of me today, or is just today all of what I am? You know, what is it that I'm expressing? I believe, though, however we come to answers to those questions, that the New Thought mystics, philosophers, thinkers, and theologians helped to move this society into expanding their idea of what all meant. I think over the years, they helped to influence as this nation has grown in its understanding. And over the years, we have begun to understand the beauty in diverse expressions of the one, not just to tolerate difference, but to acknowledge its beauty. Many of us have opened to deeper learning and understanding and healing. And part of this month's topic, when it talks about wholeness, is that healing is about revealing that wholeness from within. It's getting back in awareness that our wholeness is the truth of who we are and letting it be revealed out in the world. And so what is apparent separation, when we think of ourselves as separate from each other or separate from God, that becomes whole. It heals when we understand that wholeness. So as a community over the years, we've opened to communing together, to loving each other, to living among each other, to working together, and to continuing to learn what and how God's various ways of expressing are in the world. And just be curious and get to know each other. So to wake you all up a little bit more and to have an experience this morning, I've asked Kelly and Beth, oops, she took off. I think she went to the bathroom. They're going to help me. And you're going to get to stand up here in a minute. So in honor of this weekend and all that it represents, I'm going to do a different kind of communion, since coming together as one means that we commune together. So take what she's giving you, but don't do anything with it yet, because I'm going to give you some instruction. And for anyone who has had communion of the Christian sort, please don't be offended or worry. Just hold tight. I'm going to give you some instructions. So yeah, just pass it around, take one, and just wait a minute until everybody gets one. Thank you, Edie. Sharon wanted all of it. It's okay, Sharon. Don't worry. So once you get your cup, what I'm going to have you do is work in pairs or in threesomes so that everybody has someone to work with, and then I'm going to give you some instruction. So if you want to stand up and move around, you can, or you can stay seated, whatever works for you. I'll let you know in just a minute, but you're going to work in pairs or threes. You got a three there? Okay. Everybody got something? Everybody have one now? Okay. So everybody pick one it's a jelly bean. Pick a jelly bean out of your cup. And I want you to share with your team, your people, why you picked it. Why you picked that color. And tell them what flavor you're expecting. Like, what is it that you like about the flavor of that color? You all pick the same? Okay. Okay. Everybody shared. Now taste your jelly bean. And if you don't want to eat the whole thing, we can give you a Kleenex to spit it out in. But just taste it. Yes, taste the jelly bean. Okay. Now everybody find the orange jelly bean in their cup. If you already did an orange one, there should be another one in there. Pick out an orange one. You should have an orange one. Yeah. Pick out the orange jelly bean. And people at home, sorry you can't do this, but you can watch what's going on here. Okay, now share with your group why you do or don't like the color orange and why you do or don't like the taste of orange or the flavor of orange. Beth, did you jump in with a group? Okay. So taste your orange and tell each other what you're tasting. Eat the orange one. What did you get? Yours tastes like orange? What does yours taste like, Deborah? Not sure. But does it taste orange? Cinnamon. We've got cinnamon over here. What'd you get? Cinnamon. What other flavors did you get with orange? Licorice. What else? You didn't like that? Okay. So now pick a color that was not your first choice, something you would normally not want to try or taste. And tell your group why you didn't pick that color, what you don't like about it. And go ahead and taste it and see what you get. What happened, Carol? What'd you get? She's become leery. So have you noticed that the colors don't match our traditional idea of the flavors? Okay, so now let's shift our focus. Pick one out and see if you can feel what you feel, if you're excited or feeling a little nervous about trying something that you know isn't going to match what you expect. Pick another one and share with your group, how does it feel to know that this isn't going to necessarily taste like what you expect? And you can try your new flavor. What do you think? Were you pleasantly surprised? What'd you get? Do it in cookies? You want to eat them in cookies? Oh, Katya has a look on her face. Not what you expected, huh? Too sweet. You can spit them out if you just taste them. You can spit them into a Kleenex if you want. We've got Kleenex for you. So tell each other what it was like to try something that you had no idea what you were getting into. You didn't eat it. Did you taste it?
No. I've already had 2 jelly beans. They're going to have a sugar problem.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, I don't want you to have sugar problems. The red one that tasted like licorice blew her mind. Okay, everybody, I'm going to call you back. You can work on the rest of those later. We have more that you can get. Refill your cup. You can take some home. Try it on your family. Let them see what they get. However you want to work it. So these were called diversity beans. That's what they're actually called. And they said in their little promo here, our jelly beans come in 6 different colors. Huh?
He said, where are the white ones? What happened to the white ones?
There's some white ones in there. She got some. So you can dig through the thing in the back if you need some white ones. He says, I'm just joking. So their jelly beans come in 6 different colors with 6 different flavors for a total of 36 possible combinations. You can buy a red one and you can get cherry, lemon, lime, vanilla, orange, or licorice. So you've got all these different flavors mixed with your colors. These diversity beans were created and intended to help people stop stereotyping based on appearance. They provide a constant reminder that diversity means not judging people based on the appearance or background. They were developed so that people would experience expectations that were not met. Yeah, it was a little different, wasn't it? So hopefully you can talk about that with each other after and keep trying your different colored jelly beans. There will be more in the social hall, like I said, that you can pick up if you would like. So I'm sure you know that people are kind of like these jelly beans, only there's more than 36 options for how they might show up. Sometimes we show up in predictable ways and we get what we expect, and sometimes it's completely surprising. Were any of you surprised the first time you tried your jelly bean? Yeah. So that's what the challenge, I think, for this month is, to become aware of our first impressions when we meet someone. How we think about them in regard to how they look, how they dress, the color of their skin, the way they talk, any of that. Tattoos, whatever it is. Think about, that was not me, that came from the peanut gallery out here. And then once you become aware of your immediate response, like your immediate first impression, see if you can consciously open to getting to know the wholeness of that person, to getting to know a little bit more about them. If you have the opportunity, have a conversation and just get to know them a little more. And see if any of your assumptions were matched and if some of them were not. And if you were surprised at anything you learned. So you can share more, like I said, after the service and then when you get back home. But I think this month, part of what we are challenged to do is seek that deeper awareness of the wholeness that we are and the wholeness that each person is. Now, most of my talk up until now has focused on how we respond to the outer appearance of something or someone else. And I know that sometimes where we feel at odds is within ourselves. We feel ourselves to be different than everyone else. We feel ourselves to be so different that there's aspects that we don't want to share with others. That we're afraid that we might be judged, that we might also possibly have fatal consequences if we share this outer truth. Barbara wants to give the talk this morning. She's thinking out loud. It's all right. Okay. There might be aspects within you that want to express, but you're not sure how to. You might be too shy to let it out, or like I said, you might fear the consequences. If somebody knew the whole truth about me, they might not really like me. Anyone relate to that thought? Yeah. And the wholeness of who we are, there are also some of us who can do what we call passing. We might pass as straight. We might pass as white. We might pass as something we don't really feel we are inside. Maybe our gender expression on the inside feels different than how it's being expressed outwardly. And when we hide a part of who we are, whoa, there goes one book. it can lead to us feeling separated. It can lead to us feeling lonely. And in this magazine, I love the Spirituality and Health magazine. I've read from this a lot. This is from this month, July and August of this year. There's an article about a singer named Jewel. She's known by just her first name. And she's talking in this article about the healing power of truth. And this is what she describes. I realized when I was homeless that I was so lonely. And honestly, it's not because I didn't know people. It's because I didn't tell anyone who I was. Nobody knew me. And when you're not seen and nobody can connect to your authentic self, it doesn't matter how many friends you have, you're going to feel lonely. And so I started singing in coffee shops at this point. I was still living in my car. I realized my loneliness was a self-inflicted problem because I wouldn't let anyone in. The thing that helped me survive, which was great, and she said the thing that helped her survive was her isolation, essentially, in the beginning, when she originally left home. She said, now it's harming me, and I had to figure out a way to let this go. I made a conscious decision to say my most private, truthful thoughts in front of these people I'm singing for, and at least I'm going to be known, the good, the bad, and the ugly, for who I actually am. And further on, she said, I realized that through vulnerability there is safety. My way to safety was beating people to the punch and telling people who I was. That way I'd never get knocked off of a pedestal because my fans already knew everything about me. That's one way to think about it. But what her article said to me is that, yes, sometimes it's not that we're perceiving everybody else as different and so there's a problem. We perceive ourselves as different. And so we isolate ourselves. We want to hide aspects of who we are. And when we do that, we feel lonely. We feel like we're not part of the whole. So when I think about wholeness this month, and when you think about wholeness this month, I encourage you to contemplate your own wholeness, how it is that you express in the world, and all the aspects that have come together to bring you to this point today of expressing the way you do today. Ernest Holmes, in all of his glorious vocabulary, wraps it up this way. Page 392 for those of you who are taking notes. He said, it is the law of the whole, now individualized as a law of the apparent part. So it's not an actualized part, it's the apparent part. It may produce either freedom or bondage according to the way it is used. Our use of the universal law makes it appear as though our subjective mind were an entity of itself. It never is, however, and this is one of the main points we should remember. It is not separated from the universal, but it is, in a certain sense, the property of the individual in the universal. I thought that was an interesting phrase. The property of the universal, the property of the individual in the universal. God and its creation are one, but God is greater than any individual part of its expression. The whole is greater than its parts. Yeah. Interesting, huh? So as we wrap up this weekend celebrating this nation's birth as we recognize this nation to be today, I think we need to look at how we can honor its wholeness, how we can recognize all of its parts, all who reside here, all that it has stood for, and all that it has appeared to be, good, bad, ugly, and beautiful, all of it. How do we make a container for that? All of the flavors and ways and colors that are expressed in this country. All the ways that it has expressed and does express through each and every person and animal and entity and thing that's in our universe here. And then simultaneously, as we celebrate what's here in this country, let's hold our awareness and expand it to that global heart vision for a world that works for all, and seeing that expansion and evolution taking place. And let us begin right here within ourselves, loving and celebrating our wholeness, the wholeness of what we are, who we are, all of our complexity, our personal history, our ancestry, and all of our experiences that bring us right here to today. All that contributes to our individualized expression of the divine. And as we do this for ourselves, let us open to acknowledging and creating spaces where those that we meet along the way can also safely express all of who they are in our presence. Because we know that everyone we meet along the way is whole no matter what, and that we are whole no matter what, and so it is. Practitioners are moving around the room. They are part of the whole. You are one with those practitioners. Just know that. The healing process is revealing that greater truth. Anyone else who wants to add their loving energy is welcome to stand also. So just take it in. The silly and the hard truth. The beauty and what we call ugly, all God expressing in and through each one of us, in and through each person in this country and all around the world. God is love itself as it unfolds and rolls out in and through us. So as we recognize that, we can think back to the surprising jelly bean. How did we feel? How do we handle surprises, difference, the unexpected? And how do we open our hearts to allowing those around us to be more fully themselves, express in all their colors and flavors? I am grateful for the inspiration of all the people that brought this moment to be, those that made up the diversity beans, those that wrote the books that bring history alive in all of its viewpoints. I'm grateful for each person in this room and all the diverse ways that they express and bring love into our community. And I'm grateful for this country. As upset and hard as it is for me to accept certain aspects, I open to it with love, knowing that if we are going to see that world that works for all, love is the only path to get there. And so I open my heart to love more fully, to accept more into my heart in love. And as we do that, we let the love flow out through us to all that we meet. And so in deep, deep gratitude, I just release these words, this morning's prayer, and our activities, knowing that it is good and it is God. And so it is.